We're here on the campus of Shasta College at Memorial Stadium. Welcome to the College Zone. We're taking a look at Knights football 2013. Alongside with me, as always, is TJ Holmes. We're here with Knights returning quarterback Austin Schmelzer and head coach Craig Thompson entering his 18th season. And Coach, you know, it's been a tough couple of years for Shasta College football, I know, but you know, there's a lot of enthusiasm this offseason. I know you brought in your old friend and coach Brian Hamilton, someone you called the first recruit you wanted this offseason, and there's been this huge jump in recruiting. Tell me about everything that's gone on and how you guys are feeling about this program.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, and there's no way of hiding about behind the fact that we had struggled the last few years. So it was time to make some changes, and you know, one of the things that's been on my list for multiple years is trying to get Brian Hamilton back involved in our program. There's always been that interest. There's always been that dialogue between the two of us. And this year, the opportunity just presented itself for it to really happen. And then from there, after we got Coach Hamilton on board, the second mission was to go out there and make sure we locked up all the top quality recruits that we had throughout this area. And that's something that Coach Hamilton really was able to really have a positive influence on making that happen and seeing us attain those goals. And that was fantastic.
Now, Coach, as the high school reporter up here in Reading, I've seen a lot of these guys play, you know, in high school and even in the Lions All-Star game, including your quarterback right over here. There's a lot of rivalries that go on in the northern section up here in California, and just a lot of rivalry, a lot of hatred towards each other, but some of it's a little friendly, some of it's a lot of bad blood. Now they're all on the same team. How have you seen these guys mesh so far, and then how do you think the community is going to kind of view this all-star team from the high school northern section up here?
Well, I mean, it's a great point that you bring up here. When you bring in all the top kids throughout the region here, these guys have been battling it out since Pop Warner days in youth baseball and basketball programs, and all the way through, you know, middle school and all through high school careers, where they've been battling against each other and had bitter rivalries. But it seems like it's just a different type of atmosphere when you bring them all together, and all of a sudden they get to know each other and start to see what these guys that they've been battling against really do stand for and what they represent, and they have the same common goals that they do.
Austin, you know, you come from Orland High School, and your senior year you helped lead the Trojans to the first section championship in 20 years, and you came into a situation last year where I know that there was a lot of heart on that team, but you've been through some tough times. You've taken some hits both emotionally and literally in some of those games, I know, and now you're here as part of, you know, what this coaching staff and you guys hope is a revolution. Tell me about what that process has been like for guys like you who have been through the tougher times and are starting to see the light here in your last season at Shasta College.
Yeah, at Orland we had a saying that we were changing the culture my senior year, and we ended up changing the culture. And here you kind of have the same feeling. There's more enthusiasm, more excitement, and one of the biggest differences is everyone out here is a winner. They know how to win, and everyone is willing to do whatever it takes.
Now, Coach, kind of dipping back into the high school stuff, you know, last year was a very offensive-minded year for high schools. I mean, everyone just seemed like they just blew up the stat sheet every week. It was a shootouts, you know, everything going on. How do you have a lot of those players from that offensive-minded high school systems coming here, kind of putting them in offense, but how have you kind of looked at and retooled this defense for this season?
Well, I mean, that's a valid point, because when you look at the local class of recruits we had, it predominantly were great offensive players, and on the defense side of the ball seemed to be a little thin. And but when you really look at it and assess their attributes and their skill sets and, you know, mental capacity and everything else, what these guys are great football players. So some of them have already made the transition to moving over to the defense for us. Like Travis Hall is going to be, he's moved over, is working in as a safety now for us. I mean, all of them can't play on offense. We only have one ball, and we can only play 11 on that side of the ball. So we're taking some of these guys that have the type of attributes and skill sets to be a great defensive player.
You know, Austin, looking at your guys' schedule, you start off with West Valley and Gavilan, games you won last year, but then you go to, you know, you face Butte at home, Siskiyou's on the road, then Feather River on the road, and that's a stretch that really hurt you guys last year, just in terms of, you know, injuries more than anything else, more than the losses. How are you guys looking at that part of your schedule this year and getting ready to face some of the toughest teams in Northern California?
Yeah, last year after our first two wins, the team kind of came into that Butte game a little bit too overconfident in some ways, and it kind of brought us back down to earth a little bit. And this year I feel like we have enough depth to handle those injuries, and I feel like with the leadership we have, we'll make sure that we don't get too high after wins, and that losses don't get us down too low, and we'll be able to stay level-headed and keep fighting.
Well, you heard it from Coach Thompson. You heard it from Austin Schmelzer, one of the many returners on this team. Shasta College football looking for its first winning season since 2008. It's got the coaching staff and the players in place. Now it has 10 games to prove what it can do. That's starting September 7th with a home game against West Valley. Thanks for watching, and for more on college and high school sports, go to Reading.com.